Misfortune Games.
Alright, so here's another making of video. This one's probably going to be a little more simple than the rest, just because I don't feel like doing anything super complicated. But I also just kind of want to take a step back from the visual novel stuff I'm working on right now. Speaking of which, this is a character that's going to be featured in that visual novel. It's kind of a mishmash of 2 or 3, maybe 4 characters, and then some facial morphs. Of course, you had some for the bust and stuff like that, but obviously not going to get into that on YouTube. No real need anyway, so it's going to be more of a shoulder up type of portrait. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to just jump into IRA preview, just because I like working on that when I'm doing these videos. So got to turn our headlamp off. It's going to help make things look a little better. Now I'm going to go to environment, go to backdrop, make this black, just because it's easier to work with for what we're doing. Right now I'm just working on the background, just to be clear, not working on her at all, or any of the lighting for that matter. So what I'm planning on doing, if I can find a fence or some sort, put it behind her, kind of like a patio of some sort, I guess. I'm not really sure what you would call it. And you're gonna have a bunch of skyscrapers with lights behind her, like I guess kind of like a New York if you're up on like the 30th floor. When you're standing out on a balcony or a patio, you're seeing, and you look on, you're going to see all these lights from the buildings coming up. So that's kind of what you're going to get here. Let's turn that off for now. So to get that look, what I'm going to do is grab I'm going to create a primitive. I'm already on cube, but yeah, cube's going to be the best one here. I'm not sure if there's too many cylinder buildings out there. But at the same time, we're not looking at them at an angle, so a plane might work as well. So they're going to be pointing right at you. They're not going to have the corner looking right at the camera. So either way, for now, I'm going to go with the cube. Go to auxiliary viewport. And select the cube, and I'm going to move it behind her a bit. And basically right now I just want to cover this entire area on her right side. Or at least some of it, not all of it. So I'm going to go a little bit right there. So I'll make it taller first. Let's round up to 300. Go. This is gonna be further back, so I'll try like 9. Kind of go from there first. Anyway, so we can kind of let's go 250 for now. And then I'm going to go another 500 here. Okay, let's scoot that back a little bit. Alright, let me see if I can pull up the shaders I'm using real quick, because these are all going to be done via shader. So give me 1 second. Alright, so these are the shaders I'm using right here. Anyway, this is what I'm using. So I have to play around with these and see which ones I like. So go back in the DAS here. I'm gonna grab the surface selection tool, select it, Go there. And I'm gonna go down to IRA. I'm just gonna type in city up here. And we can play with the tiling manually, but we just want to find one we like first. That should work. Anything a little better. Which one is that? Modern triple. Okay, it's just the same one with the lights off. You know what? I think this one might work pretty well. Yeah, so let's go with the other one. And a good way of testing this right now is we can go to render settings, environment, and then just go to scene only. And that, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm after. See if we can get a few more windows in there. Play with the tiling a little bit. Try 5. No, it's a little too much. 2. Might just leave it as is and scoot it back. Yeah. So let's scale this up maybe. Try like 200. Oh wow. That's, oh whoops. Okay, that's why. I want to go back a bit more. Quite a bit more, apparently. Let's try 150. Just scooting this over a bit. Okay, so let's try turning on the depth of field here. Because the background is kind of the unimportant part here, but it gives some dynamic to it. Also allows me to judge where I should put it a little better. Alright, so I'm going to make another one here. Just going to duplicate it. Probably be better to do an instance, but I got some VRAM to spare. So, let's go back to where we were. What I'm going to do is just create a smaller one right behind it there, kind of further back. Go 100 or not. We're gonna duplicate this one again. Alright, so that looks pretty decent. Not too repetitive. So, I suppose we can start with at least a key light for now. Just kind of see what we're doing. One thing I really haven't decided yet is the color tone I'm gonna go with. Maybe warmer or colder. Not really sure yet. With a rectangle, right? For now I'm just gonna go a little bit softer. Might change that. For now I just want to get the pose in. That actually works pretty well. I think I use that for my for the last render I was working on, but it might end up working pretty well here. Zoom out a little bit, maybe. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. Not the spotlight. Let's go here. I kind of want to fit her into that little space there. Kind of want to, maybe I want to lean her head back. We'll see. I can always just scoot these 3 buildings over instead of her. So, be bend in this case, right? Because her neck's turned so far. Yeah, you do her head too, just a little bit. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to group these 3 buildings. So now that they're all grouped, I can just move them over a bit. I kind of liked it where it was a little more. Oops. Oh, give me 1 second. Pause it real quick. Alright, what it did was just undid that and then saved it just so it didn't crash. Haven't.
So I guess from here we can headphones.
Alright, sorry, my volume's acting a little weird. Anyway. Where were we? Okay, so I guess now we can start working on the lighting a little more. And then do the, I guess expressions afterward. And then we'll do some touch up from there. But first, let me play with this depth of field. I feel like it might just be a little bit too strong. Alright, so what I'm going to do with this one is go over here so I can just look through this spotlight. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over here, and it's just going to give kind of a little more of a wrap around. Maybe a little further this way. I do want a bit of a sharper light, but I also want to keep that kind of softness everywhere else. You know, kind of have this, you know, some kind of pseudo rim going right here. Also the benefit of kind of creating a more natural kind of a catch light. Anyway, and we might actually even just still put a rim over here and on her back, just kind of from these other lights around her. We'll see though. It doesn't have to make total sense. And it's going to be a bit more of a focused light, more of a key. Move her head back just a little bit. Let's make this a little bit brighter. Let's try a 3000. Doesn't look too bad actually. Might make that other one a little brighter. But the intent for this one in particular is to, we'll see. It's all always kind of trial and error. Just trying to get the best look out of something. Yeah, so let's forget about that one for now. Like 6000. Try moving the spread angle up a little bit. A little softer. Alright, that looks pretty decent. All I'm doing is kind of slightly illuminating her, the darkest parts here, because you don't want it pitch black either. I mean, it really depends on how moody you want it at the same time, but for this, I don't really want it, so, can't really think of the word right now. Anyway, it's not too different from that. Still keeps that kind of mood, ambience to it, but at the same time, it's not as, stark, I guess. So I suppose from here we can try the rim, maybe. Sorry about the dog barking if you can hear that. Anyway. So let's take this one. I'll just duplicate this. Hold on one second. Alright, sorry about that. Anyway, so we duplicated the spotlight just from the second one. Or eye for that matter. Anyway. So we're going to select that in here. And what I'm going to do is go over here and just try and kind of match the angle. Kind of want it coming from pretty high above just so it's out of the way. Rim lights are not my strong suit at all, so I apologize if it doesn't look very good. Might just leave it out altogether. Anyway, so I'm gonna go 10, 10, and I want to go with more of a yellow here, so I'm like 6,000 maybe. That might be too cold. Let's try like 55. There we go, that's a little closer to what I was after. Obviously way too bright, but we're getting there. That looks pretty decent. I mean, realistically, kind of go like that might still make sense, but it's not really what I'm looking to do. Might go out a little further and then down though. See how it looks. Let's try a 7. Oops. 14. It's a little much. Let's try like 11. Alright, let's turn that off. It's like 5. See if we can make this a little darker. I feel like it's kind of taking away the depth a little bit. Let's try 150, kind of half it. There we go, it's a little better. I'm gonna go see if I can find something that looks sort of like kind of a rail or an awning or something. So it might take a few minutes. So I'm just gonna pause it, see what I can find. Alright, so I found this railing right here from Nor Alley. Not really sure what assets are from. If I find it, I'll post it on here in the caption somewhere. But anyway, just gonna move that past her if I haven't already. Okay, that's where I am. Anyway, so now what I'm gonna do is obviously rotate it. And I do want some spotty reflections on there, just from the lights around it. So move it a little this way. Draw it in a little closer. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Just a little bit more. You play with that. Can I tilt a little bit? See if we can play with the tone mapping a little bit. You can get a little colder. A little bit more maybe. maybe just one more experimental light. I just want to see how I just want to see the effect I can get on a top light. And I'll kind of get maybe kind of a pseudo, I guess kind of like almost Hepburn effect. I just want it pretty subtle though. Alright, I'm gonna let this bake a little bit and then we'll work from there if there's still anything that needs to be done. Alright, now that it's kind of baked for the most part, I turned this light off just because it wasn't looking too good when everything was all kind of completed. It was brightening it up too much. So that's off. Now I think I'm also gonna zoom in a little bit. I'm probably gonna keep her where she is now and then zoom in, play around with angles from there. But yeah, definitely gonna zoom in though. It's a little too far out still. So let's go 1, 2, maybe. Might look pretty good. Move her eyes. Oh yeah, and I also just trimmed up there. Just trimmed down the roughness on her skin, mostly on the neck and the head, the face, the head, and the shoulders. You can probably see it a little bit up in the cheekbones and on the neck. So go back to where we were with eyes. Might have to go get eyes down, the eye up down. Kind of maybe tilt the camera up a little bit. Kind of go a little Dutch with it. Try the other way. Might hide her teeth in Postwork. Just kind of black it out. Might do it in here, but I'll do it off when I'm not recording. Kind of important. Just trim this one down a little bit too. Try 90 on this one. Alright, now that we're zoomed in, I'm gonna let the skin. I'm gonna let the skin bake a little bit more, and see if I need to highlight it all. And then that should be about it. So I'll be back in a minute or so. Alright, so yeah, looks like I'm about done with this one. Haven't really changed anything since I paused it last to let it just kind of bake and see if the skin was alright. Everything is looking pretty good right about now. So, as usual, patrons are going to see this one early. So, yeah, that's about it for this.
2 hours later.
Alright, so now that that render is done, we're going to bring it into Photoshop and do some post work. So, yeah, get that and drag it in here. So first I usually just duplicate to have the original layer there in case I want to start over. So I'm going to do Control J. I think it's Command J for Apple, Mac, whatever they call it now. Alright, so now I'm going to do Control Shift N. And on this one, actually, I have a keyboard shortcut for this, but for most people it's going to be Control Shift N. So, anyway, we're going to go to Overlay, and then do 50% gray. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, and I'm going to go Overlay, but don't fill it this time. So we're going to leave those alone for now, and turn off that background layer. And then, so now we have our original layer here. We're going to go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter, or you can do a Control Shift A. So I usually use basic and sometimes detail, but you got color grading, pretty much everything you would need. So we're gonna stick with basic for now. Play with color temperature, so you can kind of go colder if you wanted to. Go warmer. I think I prefer the colder a little bit more. Just slightly, not a ton. You can play with your exposure. Leave that pretty minimal. You got your contrast. I'm gonna leave that pretty low though. Just leave it as is actually. There's already enough going on here. Don't really need any more. So again, highlights are pretty much exactly how they sound. Just bring out the highlights that are already in the image. I'm gonna be pretty minimal with this. Do shadows. Going -4. Leave that at 0. bump the highlights up just a little bit more. Maybe the exposure. I think I want to lean more into not really sure if I want to lean more into this blue. The cooler or warmer. I'll just leave it as is for now. We can always come back to it. I'll bring in some texture. Alright, so I copied those. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel that, and then I'm going to right click and I'm going to convert it to a smart object so I can go back and play around with it if I need to later. So I'm going to do Control Shift A again. Let's go to paste edit settings or Control V. Hit OK, and now you got that down there so you can turn them off as needed. So now we're gonna move up to these two layers here. I'm gonna go to white. I'm gonna grab my brush, go to white, and you're gonna want it around 10%, 10, 15, 12. Find your whatever you like best. It's gonna change per image too. All right. Hold on, fixing my stand here. Alright, so now that we have the white brush there, I have my fingers on the left and right bracket keys. So you got the right bracket to make it bigger and left to make it smaller. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. If you want this little window up here, you can just go to window, and then where navigator. There you go. And that's gonna make it pop up somewhere around there, and then you can just make it bigger as needed. So anyway, I'm gonna reselect that layer. Make it a little smaller. I'm gonna go up in the eyes and just make them just a little bit brighter. I'm just going after the highlights for the most part and brightening the eyes. And you want to make sure to zoom out pretty often. Make sure it's not overly bright. Again, that's why we're doing this on a different layer, so it's not destructive, so you don't have to start all over again. And then you just kind of repeat the process on anything that has any kind of highlights. You don't want to go overboard on a lot of it, but like right here, you can do like one or two just strokes. By stroke, I mean, click and drag, so like that, and then like that. For something smaller like this, you got one click, maybe two if you need it, and then same up here. One will do that for that, and then a click there, maybe a little click there. Again, for this, it's just the brightest points on the skin, at least. So like right there, you just kind of want to bring out the moisture in the skin. So it looks like we're pretty on the face. Give me a little bit right there. Again, we can always come back with a layer mask and kind of adjust it as needed. Again, and for something like this, we're not doing the whole thing. We're just doing that, though, the brightest streak right here. You could get away with just doing that one little part here and not the whole thing. It's completely up to you. Assuming you're even following along with this. No, and now you move on to the hair. For the hair, I actually recommend you do it on a separate layer. So let's rename this to Shine Face. Then just repeat it, Control Shift N. Overlay, then leave this unchecked. And you can rename it to hair. Or you can rename it to hair up here. It's up to you. So, like, again, the brightest spots, the hair right here. You just want where the light's catching it. Okay, so I missed the ear, maybe the earring. So I'm gonna go back to the face part because that's not part of the hair. Zoom in and probably going a little too close here. Depends on how much you care about the minor details. Make sure everything is working. And zoom out a little bit just to fit the ear on the screen. Again, just the brightest point there should be fine. Maybe do a little bit on the arm. Maybe. Alright, so now you got your burn and highlight. Or your lighting and shadowing. And again, if you feel it's like too bright, you like how it's styled, but it's too bright, you can just lower the opacity. Same goes for the face. If you feel like any of it's too bright, you can just turn it down. So now that we're here, I'm gonna go to Dodge, the Dodge and Burn tool. So with your Dodge, you're gonna go for the where you didn't do the highlights, or where the shine on the skin is. So you can basically go around it if you need to. So in this case, you can just turn the this part off and just follow the parts where it isn't. In this case, it's fairly obvious which one's which, since they're pretty minimal. Okay, so I want arm a little brighter. So I might even just go over that. Again, you can even go over some parts of the hair. You want to go over the part. You don't want to go over the parts you highlighted, but you can kind of fade them into the dark parts, or at least prep it for when you go over with the burn tool. So yeah, so make sure you have your exposure fairly low, especially for burning. It's pretty easy to get this kind of burnt orange tone on the skin that really doesn't look good. Again, you can also just make this. You can make another one of these layers and just do it for the shadowing and one for the light. It's just it's up to you and your process. So what I'm doing again, just like the light, I'm just going over the shadows, where the shadows are. Kind of emphasizing the ones that need it. Got under the hair right here. Might even go over the teeth here. Kind of create some depth. Just hang up the hair. Again, it's okay to bend the rules of reality a little bit, especially when you're lighting. If it makes it look better and it's not sticking out in a bad way, then there's nothing really wrong with it. So Postwork just becomes a lot easier when you are able to light and render well. Or light your render well, excuse me. Alright, a little bit of color balance maybe. There we go. It's looking pretty good. Lower the opacity on that just a little bit. Hue saturation. Alright, it's looking pretty good. We'll delete that. Alright, so now let's do a Control Shift Alt E. That's just gonna combine all the layers into one. We go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. There we go. Probably want a little more blur though. I'm gonna convert that to a smart object. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And just kind of an experiment here. Might not keep it. And then I'm gonna put on a layer mask. I'm back to my brush. Make sure it's on black. Go up to 100 with this, and then just make it as big. Just make it pretty big. You kind of want to fade it around so it's just not so cut. So the cutoff is so sudden. Lower the opacity a bit. Just kind of want it there, but not the focal part of the image. Excuse me. Maybe do another color balance layer over that. And that should be about it. No, that's not worth it. Doesn't really look good. No? Maybe? Yeah, it's looking pretty good, actually. There's no halves. Like one's a little, it's not enough, and then two might be a little much. Do three, and then you kind of lower it down a little bit. I'll fiddle around with that some more after I stop recording. So yeah, that's it for this one. Yeah, like I said, I just want to do something a little simpler. Ended up going a little longer than I expected. Seems like I always say that, but anyway. So yeah, it's a simpler one, but it kind of paints a picture in a lot of ways. Yeah. Again, feel free to request something too if you don't know or you want to see something or see how something is lit. So I'll give my best attempt at it. Yeah, I'm just trying to get more active on this. Kind of hard to fit in between the two visual novels, but it's nice to take a break with these too. So, alright, until the next one, I guess.